Change, especially unforeseen change, can cause all sorts of havoc in any accounting or accounts payable function. But that is the world we live in today. These unexpected challenges can throw a real monkey wrench into the daily operations of any well-run best practice organization. That's why we created this talk to specifically identify these challenges that are likely to come your way so that you'll be ready to deal with them. Unexpected challenge number one, the big remote work versus return to office mandate. You've seen a lot about this in the popular press. Many organizations who formerly had allowed their employees to work remotely are now mandating that they return to the office. Now you may think, no big problem. I don't care. I'll go into the office. But that's only the beginning of the battle. It may not be a problem for you personally, but for example, your star performer, that person who you rely on, they may prefer working from home. In fact, they may prefer working from home so much that they go out and look for another job and you could be left holding the bag. That's just one way that it could hurt you. They could also, not only your star performer, but all your employees could come in and they're angry that they had to give up what they consider to be their right to work from home. And so they're less productive and they grumble about it. And then some mistakes get made. Now, that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin are those organizations who want their employees to work from home. Maybe they have given up the office space, so they no longer have enough offices, enough desks for everybody to come into the office, and you have employees who would prefer to go into the office. So there's no one size fits all here. You could be dealing with a lot of different moving parts. And even if everything's fine in your organization, nobody's upset about what's going on, you're either all working from home or you have a hybrid relationship or whatever, and then you get a new boss. And whatever the situation is that you're all happy with, this new boss isn't happy. So even though, for example, and this happened to me years ago, even though the company is perfectly willing to have everybody work remotely, this new boss doesn't like that. He or she doesn't trust people when they can't see them, and they want everybody to come into the office. So your formerly nice, serene working environment now becomes one where you have disgruntled employees. So there's many ways that this remote work versus return to the office mandate can play out, and the challenges that you end up having because of it, will vary depending upon what the situation is. What's more is they can change from time to time. Okay, you get where I'm going with that. Enough about that. Unexpected challenge number two. You can have regulatory compliance issues that you had not had in the past and that you don't see coming. And to be honest, we've got a lot of change going on in that area. Clearly, the regulatory challenges vary from country to country. And now, some of this is even politically driven, which is something that we didn't have in the past. So, for example, let's talk about what's going on in the United States. That's one example to give you a flavor for what's going on. So, the IRS, the taxing authorities in the United States, Internal Revenue Service, as you may recall, a few years ago, they received a budget increase to increase hiring. But now, and most of us were concerned that there would be increased audits. We were maybe a little bit concerned about our 1099 processes. But now we have reports in the press that there are going to be layoffs at the IRS, as long as, some other federal agencies. Likewise, there was an expectation until recently that the due dates for all 1099s, the due dates at the IRS, not the end user, not just the NEC, but that they were all going to be moved to January 31st to help combat the fraud that's been going on. Now, it's not clear whether that's still going to be an initiative with all the upheaval going on, but we just have to wait and see. And we're not clear what's going to go on, actually, with any federal agency. But there are two things that are absolutely certain. Number one, your AP staff needs to stay on top of this matter, for there will be changes, for better or worse, I don't know. No one really knows. And more importantly, and getting far less less press. In fact, we rarely read about it in the newspaper or the popular press anywhere, of the growing regulatory compliance requirements at the state level. That's right, at the state level. So, for example, many states now have their own, separate from the IRS or the federal level, 1099 reporting requirements. And the number of those states that have those requirements is going up every year. A few more added. And you may think, well, we subscribe or we participate in the combined federal-state reporting, and so we can get that information that way. Well, there's several problems there. Number one, some of the states have been dropping out of that program, so you can't rely on it the way you could in the past. And number two, some of the states who are participating have separate reporting requirements, maybe a little bit more stringent or just different than what the IRS reporting requirements are. So your ability to rely on that combined program, which is great, by the way, in theory it's a great program, is not the silver bullet that we had hoped it would be. So we've just got to keep our eyes and ears opened, especially for the next few months, the next year, next 2 years, to see if there are any increased reporting regulatory requirements that we're going to have to deal with. One other one that I want to make you aware of on this particular level is, you may recall that a few years ago the IRS changed the deductibility of meals from your taxes. Now you can only deduct 50% of the value. Well, that's expected to expire this year, and it's not clear at all as to whether that is going to be extended or it's just going to be allowed to expire quietly, and we'll go back to the old 100% day. I can't tell you. I don't know. I wouldn't even fathom a guess as to what they're going to do. Alrighty, moving along. Unexpected challenge number 3, keeping current, which is always a challenge, but we've got some little nuances now moving forward that make it an interesting situation. We're not only talking about the changes that are happening in whatever your specialty is. Is it, general ledger? Is it particular software? Is it Excel? Is it accounts payable, accounts receivable, whatever? But we're also talking about all the new technology, all the new automation, and the AI solutions, the artificial intelligence solutions that are flooding the market today. No one, I mean absolutely no one, can afford to ignore these changes. We've got to adjust and adapt. We don't need to stick our head in the sand and pretend it's not happening, or run around like a Chicken Little with your head cut off. No, we need to adapt. I want you to consider 3 what I consider to be interesting surveys and facts. I'm not going to go into them in detail, just a little highlight from each of them. So number 1, according to the World Economics Forum and their report, The Future of Jobs, an estimated 44% of core skills required by the workforce today will change within the next 5 years. Okay, 5 years. Okay, really short time period. The second one, which I thought was quite interesting, and this was according to research from an organization called Kahoot, and they said in their survey, 46% of all employees feel their skills will be obsolete within 5 years, and 29% said it will happen even sooner. Again, we've got to adjust. And lastly, number 3, this came from Microsoft and LinkedIn. They released a joint report, which they surveyed, I believe, 31,000 people about the state of AI, artificial intelligence at work. And there was a lot of interesting tidbits in that survey, but the one that I want to focus on here, and I think should be important to all of us, is 2/3 of the leaders, people who were identified as leaders in this survey, said they would not hire someone without AI skills, artificial intelligence skills. And this was not, we weren't just talking about technology people, we're talking about the workforce in general. Does this mean you're doomed? Absolutely not. I do not believe that, not one bit. It just means that you need to stay on top of the type of skills that we traditionally left to others, primarily those IT geek. But today, that just doesn't work, okay? To some extent, we all have to become IT geeks of sorts. And you know what? A lot of this is not difficult. In fact, once you get the hang of it, and I can tell you from personal experience, a lot of this is not difficult. In fact, it's not that hard at all for you to end up being one of the top candidates that management wants on their teams because you have mastered some of these skills that we've been talking about. To help you get there, we put together a few short videos that will teach you not only the basics of some of these new products that are out there, but give you some ideas on how you can use these innovations. You can watch it right now using the link that has appeared on your YouTube screen and is in the description. Good luck.